All right, Mr. Zaffo, are you ready?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
All right, the court will go back on the record then. And you may proceed.
Mr. Trevor, you have another child in addition to Lonnie, correct?
Correct.
And that child is how old?
13.
And he lives with his mother, is that right?
Correct.
And you testified in your deposition about how often you see him, correct?
Correct.
And I believe your testimony at page 6 was that you see him a couple times a month, but that you don't have overnights with him. Is that right?
Correct.
But I didn't ask for an explanation. Is that correct?
Correct. Keep going then. Stop pausing.
And there was a period of time for several years when you didn't see that child at all. Is that right?
Yeah, was a few years where I had lived out of town.
And you also testified that you don't have any particular schedule. You often see that child on Sunday afternoon, or you go to a sporting event for that your child might be attending. Is that right?
Correct. We do the sporting events. We do like
that's okay, sir. That I'm not asking for an explanation. I just wanted to know if that was correct.
Yeah.
Alcohol leads to a lot of problems for you, doesn't it?
I mean, the only issues I've ever had in life have involved alcohol or women. So, yeah, either one.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to look at Plaintiff's Exhibit 2, something that was sent to you last week. Do you have that in front of you?
Who?
I'm asking you, Mr. Trevor, to look at one of the exhibits that I sent you prior to this hearing. It's called Plaintiff's Exhibit 2, and it's a text message exchange between you and Casey. Do you see that?
No, I'm not looking at it.
Can you get it in your possession?
I mean, if it's on email, I can probably pull it up.
Well, maybe I can do a screen share. I can try to do that now. Let me see if I can.
Last thing
Are you able to see the screen? Are you able to see the screen now that says Plaintiff's Exhibit 2?
No.
Well, Your Honor, is the court able to see the screen share?
I am not, no.
Let's see.
All right, now I can.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so now, sir, can you see what's marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 2 at the bottom of the page? Are you able to see this, sir? Mr. Trevor?
Mr. Trevor, you are muted right now. If you could please unmute.
Yeah, I see him.
Okay, so is this an email that you sent to Casey? And that would have been in April of 2022. I'll help you understand. At the top, it says, well, I just plan on not seeing her till she can drive. Fuck you and your everyone else. And cause my stupid sister talks to ya another dumb cunt. Best gift for Lonnie was me not showing up. Should have done that the first sup or something. Is that your writing, sir?
Mr. Trevor, somehow you got muted again. If you could please unmute.
Yes.
Okay. And that's an email or a text message you sent to Casey Atkinson in April of 2022, correct?
Correct.
Do you ordinarily refer to your sister as a dumb cunt?
No,
Why did you do it there?
because I was upset.
Is this how you talk when you get upset?
Not entirely.
When you said, we'll just plan on seeing her when she can drive.
Because I knew that I wouldn't have any way of seeing her because of Casey basically withholding her. So I figured when she's 16, she can come on her own and I can see her then.
Okay. So I want to move to the next one now. Let's see. That would be here. Okay. So, sir, can you see Plaintiff's Exhibit 3 in front of you now? Mr. Trevor?
All right, you got muted again, sir.
Yeah.
And is this a text message that you sent to Casey Atkinson? And that would have been in June 2022?
Yeah.
So this is you writing, I believe, new black car, new stepdaddy. Sounds like you're doing great. You're going to start letting me have Lonnie and stop being such an asshole. She said, have you gotten help? Have you changed at all? The answer is no, very clear. I expect, and this is blocked out, but I expected that. I don't need help with anything you say. I just don't trust people, plain and simple. Just because you don't like how I feel about you doesn't mean I need any help. I hate myself just as much as you for everything. So it's equal. What were you trying to communicate there?
On the hate part or what?
Well, how about I don't trust people? What's that mean?
Just like a lawyer, I don't trust him to do anything except look out for his dollar.
How about I don't need any help with anything? What does that mean?
She's talking about therapy, and I don't need to talk to a therapist, and I don't need a person that sees or has been seeing a therapist for multiple years try and diagnose me that doesn't have a degree in mental health.
What do you mean when you say I hate myself?
Because if I never had to deal with Casey, and if I never would have, I guess, had tried to commit to anything, I never would have moved up, and Lonnie wouldn't have been conceived, and we wouldn't be talking over Zoom right now. So I feel like just as big of an idiot for knocking her up as I do for everything else. Just as much as I hate her being a part of the situation, I hate that I had to be irresponsible in situation.
I'm going to move on to Plaintiff's Exhibit 4. Oh, well, Your Honor, I'd move for admission of Plaintiff's Exhibit 2 and 3.
Okay. Mr. Trevor, any objection to the admission of those exhibits? All right, so Mr. Trevor, you can't wear a hat. I know it's you're not technically in court, but we do consider it to be a courtroom environment. And do you have any objection to the admission of these text messages?
no.
All right, so exhibits 2 and 3 will be admitted.
And so, sir, I have Exhibit 4 up on the screen now. Are you able to see that? Looks like it's June 18. That would be 2022. It begins at the top. You know, if I told you how much I loved you, missed you, cared about you, it wouldn't change anything. Did you write that to Casey Atchison?
I did.
All it brings me is pain. I mean, I'm trying to rant or be mean.
And
I don't know what RN means. What's that
right
mean?
now.
Oh, right now. Just telling you how you make me feel, I guess, only helps temporarily. You're just the only one I've ever trusted. What does that mean?
Well, other than my son's mother, she's one of the only people
No,
that
I'm asking you, what does your comment about?
I'm explaining it to you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So anyways, other than maybe Joey's mother and Casey, one of the two only people that I was, I guess, I had fully entrusted and I don't know, I guess let my guard down with.
I just wish I knew how to get rid of all the resentment. What's the resentment you're talking about?
Of leaving my job downstate and coming up and committing to being with Casey.
Which resulted in the birth of Lonnie, correct? Father's Day seems like a joke. I don't feel like a great or good dad. If I was, then you'd probably never have left. Probably never left. Things just aren't the same without you with us. What do you mean by that?
Well, things are not, I guess they weren't whole without Casey there, you know, as I guess in a family setting.
You only dated Casey for 4 months, correct?
Yeah, we were together for, roughly 4.5 months, maybe a little bit longer.
You're not involved in any other romantic relationship now, are you?
No.
I'd move for admission of Plaintiff's Exhibit 4, Your Honor.
Any objection, Mr. Trevor?
No.
All right. Plaintiff's Exhibit 4 is admitted.
Plaintiff's Exhibit 5 is up on the screen now, and that appears to be a text message between you and Casey dated June of 2022. Casey saying she wrote a letter to your parents and informed them that she set very clear boundaries, that they were crossed. And you responded saying, tell her to have a good life. Who is her?
Her would be Lonnie.
Dad will see her when she is, I guess you meant to write older, right?
Correct.
Don't have times for your game, therapy, BS. What's BS? What's that mean?
Therapy bullshit. That's her talking to me, telling me I need to go see a therapist. Just because she sees one 3 days a week or whatever, it does not imply that because it works for her or she thinks it works for her, that I personally don't. I think it's a
And now
placebo.
you're saying to Casey here that you should go ask her, I guess that means Lonnie, what toys she wants from the house. I'm going to get rid of everything. By the time she's back, she'll be in other stuff. You are hurting her more than me. Remember, this one's on you. This is what you wrote to Casey in June of last year, correct?
Correct. This is after the Father's Day incident.
And you're essentially saying that you're not going to see Lonnie anymore, correct?
What I'm saying is
Is that right, sir? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Are you saying that you'll see her when she's older?
Correct.
I'm going to move for admission of Plaintiff's Exhibit 5.
Okay, Mr. Trevor, any objection?
No.
We'll admit Plaintiff's Exhibit 5.
Plaintiff's Exhibit 6 is up on the screen. It starts by saying, it's all bullshit. Let me see if I can minimize this. There we go. And I think Casey said, I wouldn't come over if I were you, just saying. And then you say, dumbass BS, calm down, getting upset doesn't solve anything. Then you say, getting rid of her wheels and tires I've been holding on to, and all Lonnie's shit that I don't need anymore, since she's not welcome at my home. And then there's something saying, don't mean to call. And then I think you say, dumbass, always said, oh, I'll never get married again and shit. Should have never moved up here for her and never would have had to deal with Lonnie shit or anything. I'd been better off knocking up a junkie. Every woman, just another dumb whore these days. Sad. Is that how you feel about women?
Today's generation, yes.
Loading her tires now. So you're grabbing tires and trash bags, and the trash bags had Lonnie's belongings in it, right?
Correct.
And here's a picture of the stuff you're bringing, the tires, the toys, I guess, in the back of a truck. Is that right?
That's actually a trailer, yes.
And then you text her saying, shit's here. I don't know why you're all hiding. Why'd you say you're all hiding?
Because I could see him upstairs in the window. And I thought, why?
And Casey said, we're not hiding. We just don't want to deal with this situation you're going through. You say, whatever, you dumb whores. I'll see Lonnie at graduation. Casey says, I'll let her know. And you say, so fucking spineless. And then she says, so you are to do that. So are you to do this to your daughter and not following the rule, blocking you by. So that was the day that
That was the day I dropped her things off in Traverse City, if that's what you're implying, yes.
Okay, and I'm going to move for admission of Exhibit 6.
Who
Mr.
did you-
Trevor, any objection?
Who did you say that conversation was to?
I think that was with you and her mom. Is that right?
That is correct.
I'd move for admission of plaintiff's Exhibit 6.
Mr. Trevor, any objection?
No.
All right, thank you. The plaintiff's Exhibit 6 then is admitted.
Okay, Leslie, I need to get this off the screen now. Okay. Your Honor, I'm going to mute myself for just a moment.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Trevor, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
It was your testimony in your deposition that you don't really trust your parents either, correct? You testified that you don't trust anyone, including your parents, because they lied to you when you were growing up. Is that right?
Yes, to an extent.
And I believe you also testified with regard to therapy that you wouldn't go to therapy even if the court ordered, correct?
I'm actually in therapy, in a men's group. So,
Okay, so I don't think we were talking about the men's group when that question was asked. Tell me about this men's group. How many appointments have you gone to?
I believe 4 or 5 already.
And do you do that from your home?
I do that via Zoom.
And is that with a group of other individuals who are also court ordered to do the men's group?
Correct.
How many individuals are typically attending at one time?
I believe roughly between 18 and 22.
Okay. And that is what you're referring to as participating in therapy, right?
Correct.
It's fair to say that you're not a big believer in the efficacy or the effectiveness of meeting with like a therapist, like a counselor.
A for-profit counselor? No. I don't believe anything that's done for profit is really beneficial. We'll
And you believe that the child support system in the state of Michigan is a way of laundering money by the state. Is that right?
Correct.
And you refer to the child support people as those motherfuckers, correct?
Yep, the whole government.
I don't have anything further, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Trevor, you have a chance now to provide additional testimony if you want, based on the questions that were asked of you by counsel.
I don't even know where to start. I don't know. See, this is why I can't answer questions, because everything that was mentioned, I don't know what order or what was asked, so I cannot come back. and rebut anything that was asked.
Okay, so you have no additional testimony?
Yeah, I mean, I can keep you here for 5 minutes, but if I got to think of something, I don't know.
Okay, so it sounds like you don't have any additional testimony.
I do, but I can't think of anything at this time.
All right, well, this is your time, so if you want to have any additional testimony based on the questions you just asked, you can do so. You're not required to, but you can.
I know, but I can't think of any of the questions that was mentioned or any of the depositions that were questioned.
All right, do you have any other witnesses you wish to call?
No, because I didn't know that it was on today, so I don't have anything prepared.
All right. Thank you. All right, Mr. Saffel, do you wish to call any witnesses?
Yes, I would call my client,
All right.
Casey Atkins.
Thank you. Ms. Atkins, if you would please unmute and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, please state your name for the record and spell your last name.
Casey Atchison, Atchison.
Thank you. Mr. Saffel, you may proceed.
Okay. Casey, where do you live?
Traverse City.
And what do you do for a living?
I am a cosmetologist.
And where do you work?
I am self-employed and rent a chair at the Hair Co. in Traverse City, Michigan.
And how long have you been doing that job?
I've been recently at this job for a couple months, but I've been doing hair for about 14 years.
Okay. And who do you live with in your home?
My husband, Adam Moose, and my daughter, Lonnie Atchison.
Okay. And how old is Lonnie?
5.
And where does she go to school?
In Traverse City, Michigan.
And did she go to a preschool?
Yes, she went to Courtaid for preschool as well.
Okay. And how's she doing in school?
Really good.
And what kind of child is she? What kind of person is she? Well,
She
let me say
is.
this. What kind of activities does she participate in?
We've done a lot of activities. Some she loves more than others, but we've tried gymnastics, we've done swim. She is in soccer, which she loves and she's so good at. And she's also been in dance.
Okay. And who's her doctor?
Dr. Bush in Traverse City.
Okay. And is she healthy?
Yes.
And there was a testimony earlier from Mr. Trevor about doctor's appointments. Has he ever attended a doctor's appointment?
No.
Have you tried to prohibit him from attending a doctor's appointment?
No.
Has he ever gone to her school for any reason to participate?
No.
Court aid?
No.
Has he ever asked to go to the school and participate? Have you tried to block him from attending school events or any other activities regarding money? I'm sorry, was that a no?
No, sorry.
Okay. Okay. What does your husband do for a living?
He owns a landscaping company called Moose Landscaping in Traverse City, Michigan.
Okay. And how long have you been married?
We've been married. On Monday, it will be a year.
And do you own your own home?
Yes.
And do you believe that you have a permanent, stable environment for Lonnie?
I do.
Is your relationship with Mr. Moose strong?
Yes.
Do you have any plans to move out of your present location?
No, we do not.
Did you recently buy this home?
We did.
And you read Mr. Trevor's deposition and heard his testimony today. Describe how it is that he talks around you when you meet with him and when you talk to him in terms of use of profanity.
I would feel like that's the way that he speaks, profanity and speaking sexually and outrageously is something that is pretty consistent with Joe. It's not something that I see that changes, but if he gets angry, of course, if something tips him off or gets him upset, it will get more aggressive.
Does he speak in a profane way in front of Lonnie?
Yes.
Does he do that regularly?
I would say that in my experience, yes, it has been pretty regularly.
And how do you feel about him doing that?
I don't like it and I tell him to stop.
And what's he say to you?
Usually no, or he'll laugh about it.
At the restaurant in December of 2022, did he yell in Lonnie's face?
Yes.
And what was he saying to Lonnie about her stepfather?
He screamed in her face, "Your stepdad's a fucking faggot, little fucking bitch, faggot," over and over. And she was trying to plead her case against him and say, no, he's not, he's strong. And she was defending her stepfather, and he didn't like that.
Did Lonnie make a comment to Mr. Trevor about your husband being strong or stronger or something like that?
She said that he was strong. Lonnie and my husband, we all will work out together and lift weights. My husband's pretty active in the gym. So Lonnie was trying to tell her dad about the weights that she'd been lifting and how she'd been working out with Adam, and he was strong.
And how did Mr. Trevor respond to that?
Very poorly. He started screaming in her face.
And did that upset her?
Yes.
Was he drinking? Was Mr. Trevor drinking at the time?
He was.
Did the waitress have to cut him off?
Yes, because they only will serve a 3 limit of that particular beer. It's the strongest beer in the restaurant.
Was he making a scene in the restaurant?
Yes.
And what did he call the waitress?
A cunt.
And when it came down to time to tip and pay the bill, what did he write on the bill?
You can fuck right off.
Say it again.
You can fuck right off.
Okay. And then when you left the restaurant, what happened in the outside?
I put Lonnie in her car seat and I got out of the doorway so he could say goodbye to her. And I walked around the car. I got in the driver's seat while he was continuing to say goodbye to Lonnie, standing outside of the vehicle. And he had asked if we would go to the store with him. And I told him that I did not want to go to the store with him and that it was time for us to go home. He got upset. He asked why. And I told him it was because of the way he had been acting. And I didn't want him acting that way with Lonnie around. And the visit was done. He then tried to ask Lonnie, or I guess tell Lonnie, see, your mom doesn't even want you to go with me. She won't let me get you Christmas presents. And Lonnie said, I want to go home. I don't want to go with you. And then we had other conversation about custody and how he hasn't been able to see her. And I don't exactly remember the full conversation, but I do remember at the end of that conversation, I had said to Joey, I don't want you acting like this way around her. If you continue to act this way, she's not going to want to be around you. You're scaring her. She looks scared. And he said, you think I give a fuck? I don't fucking care about Lonnie. And at that point,
Did he say
I
that in
told-
front of Lonnie?
yes.
And then what happened?
And then I asked him to get out of my vehicle after he had said that. He said no. And I said, Joey, I want you to get out of my vehicle right now, or else I'm going to call the cops. He said, call the cops. I'll fucking wait right here. So I went to turn to grab my phone, which was sitting in my lap. And I went to open the phone to call the cops. And I had noticed him flying past Lonnie over top her in her car seat at me. He had smashed my head into the window and he was clawing at my hands, trying to get my phone from my hands. Lonnie was hitting him in the back, and I just kept hearing her say over and over, stop hitting my mommy, leave my mommy alone, get off my mommy. He finally retrieved the phone from my hands after I screamed help numerous times to try to get somebody's attention. He grabbed the phone from my hand. He removed himself out of my vehicle, still standing in her open doorway. He smashed my phone on the ground. He picked up my phone. He chucked it past our daughter in the car seat with broken glass falling out of it at me in the front seat. And then he had slammed the door of her, where her car seat was in the back seat. He slammed the door and I locked the doors and I drove straight to the police station.
Okay. I imagine that was a traumatic event for you.
Yes,
And as a result of that incident, did you obtain a personal protection order against him?
I did.
Are you afraid of him?
Yes.
Does he treat you in a sort of a sexualized way during these exchanges with Lonnie?
When we were doing exchanges, yes.
What are some of the things he did?
I feel like every time that we did an exchange, I feel like it probably was less times that he didn't do it, would make comments about my butt or my boobs, and he would grab my boobs, he would grab my butt. I remember one time very clearly, he had smacked my ass and I said, don't touch me. And he smacked my ass again. And Lonnie was, I want to say 3 years old at this time. And she had said, don't touch my mom like that. I remember one time I was dropping Lonnie off and she was sad to see me go. And he had said to her, your mom doesn't want to be here. She wants to go get, or your mom doesn't want you. She wants to go get dicked down.
To go get dicked down?
Yes,
Does that mean have intercourse or something?
I would assume so.
And he said that in front of Lonnie?
Yes,
Did he say that to Lonnie?
yes.
Was there another incident where he was using an umbrella in some way?
Yes, Halloween of 2021. I had invited Joe to come trick-or-treating with me, my really good friend Allie and Lonnie, and we had met at Barrio in Traverse City, Michigan. That experience, he had made a threat to Lonnie because she wasn't eating her food. Before we had even went trick-or-treating, he had told her, if you don't eat your fucking food, I'm going to beat your ass so fucking hard, you're not going to walk for days. He said this in front of myself, he said it to Lonnie, and he said it in front of my friend Allie. We went out and we walked downtown in Traverse City. He kept taking an umbrella and shoving it in between my legs from behind me and kept rubbing me. I asked him to stop numerous times and he laughed about it. He did not spend or seem concerned about being there with Lonnie at all. He was just following me around, touching me and talking to me every chance he could get.
You have a belief that he still wants a relationship with you or is somehow infatuated with you?
I do believe that that is true. I believe now that maybe that's a little outdone by hate towards me and wishing me death.
He testified about punching a TV in Florida with in a car with his parents. What was your experience regarding that incident?
So I had tried to plan a trip around the time that his parents would be in Florida, so he could come down there and we would be there at the same time, so we both would get a spring break vacation with Lonnie. I had made all the plans and he kept saying, okay, I'll let you know, I'll let you know, I'll let you know. Anyways, we were down there, we were having a great time. He finally says last second, about 3 days before we were planning on heading back home, that he was buying a plane ticket and he was then going to come down. He asked if he could come get her. I said, there's not enough time now because you waited too long and didn't plan accordingly. But would you like to meet us at the aquarium in Tampa? He agreed that him and his parents would meet us at the aquarium. Throughout the day, he was texting me. I feel like the day started with him being excited to come to the aquarium and see me and see Lonnie. And somewhere along the way, I think his parents had gotten lost or misunderstood directions. Joe was texting me about how upset he was and using very foul language. He stated to me in those texts that he punched the TV and broke it because they wouldn't listen to him. He claimed that his mother tried jumping out of the moving vehicle because it had gotten so chaotic in the car. When he finally did get to the aquarium, he was about, I want to say maybe an hour late from the time we started. He was upset because I was in the bathroom with Lonnie and he could not find me. And I wasn't answering the phone because I was helping our daughter go to the bathroom. Finally, he found me and just started screaming in my face instantly while I was holding Lonnie because he couldn't find me. And I guess he just felt that he would take his frustrations out on me because of his day gone wrong. His parents seemed unbothered by all of that. And throughout the day, he had made comments about seeing my boobs through my shirt. I was wearing a t-shirt. Nothing was hanging out. I don't think I even own anything that anything hangs out of, but we were in Florida and I was probably wearing a loose t-shirt and maybe not wearing a bra. I'm not sure, but I was not wearing anything super exposing at all. And he kept flicking my boob, making comments about it to the point where my friend had even told him, like, why do you talk like that? That's so disgusting. Like, she asked you to stop talking like that, quit touching her like that. And he basically said, I don't give a fuck. I'll do whatever I want. We had, like he said in his statement, we had a kid together. So he has, I guess maybe he assumes that he has that authority over me, that he can touch me and do whatever he wants to me because I did bear our child.
Are you concerned about the way he treats women generally?
Absolutely.
And does that concern you with regard to how he treats Lonnie? You've asked him to get some counseling, and he's been unreceptive to that. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Has he ever tried to call Lonnie?
No.
Not once, not ever since she's born?
No, the only time I remember him calling was when he decided not to come to her birthday party last April. Or not last April, so April of 2022. He decided not to come to her birthday party, so he asked if he could call her that morning, and that is the only time I ever remember Joe ever trying to call Lonnie.
So he doesn't call to say good night, I love you, or anything like that. He just doesn't do that.
No,
How about gifts or cards? Does he ever send her cards to your home?
he's never sent a gift or a card to our home.
Has he been consistently late on child support?
Yes,
Did he provide any financial support to you with child care expenses?
no,
Did he provide any prenatal financial support to you prior to Lonnie's birth?
no,
Was there a period of time, I guess it was about a year ago, where he was asking how he could sign off on his rights?
yes.
And what was that about?
He had texted me and out of the blue randomly one day, and he said, "What are your thoughts on me signing over my rights or signing off my rights?" And I believe I said, "Sure, if that's what you would like to do." And after that, he did state that he would like to keep everything the same as far as when he would see her, and that he would have to just put all of his trust in me, that I would continue to let him do that, but he was sick of dealing with the fucking front of the court.
Is that the language that he used?
Yes.
And why was he sick of the friend of the court?
He just didn't want to have to deal with them or them be in his business at all.
And were there warrants issued since Lonnie's birth for him for failure to pay support?
I believe there's been several, yes.
So did he actually take steps to contact the friend of the court about signing off on his right?
Yes, he went to the front of the court directly and spoke to the prosecutor, I believe. And I also called myself to see how we could make that happen.
And eventually, what did you learn from?
That is not possible unless there is somebody to adopt Lonnie.
Okay. Well, was he during parenting time exchanges generally timely?
No,
Was he often late?
I would say he
Absolute lie.
All right, so Mr. Trevor, you can't just interrupt and say those things. If you have a valid objection, you can place an objection on the record. Other than
Object.
that, all right, what is your objection?
Every time I've been on time, other than maybe 2 or 3
All right.
times.
Okay, all right, so that's not an objection. That's just, you have a different version, so that's testimony.
All right.
So you'll have the right to ask her questions, so I will overrule the objection. Mr. Safley,
Your Honor,
proceed.
I don't have a visual for Mr. Trevor anymore. I'm wondering why not.
Well, he was wandering around a lot, so I stopped his video. I don't know if he's seated in one spot now or not. Mr. Trevor, are you moving around still, or are you just in one spot?
No, I'm still standing here in one spot.
All right, we'll turn your video on. If you start moving around again, I might stop your video again because that is distracting to the court.
Okay.
All right, well, you can put your video on now, sir.
I'm trying. It's still disabled.
There we go. Thank you. Okay, Casey, what has been your experience with Mr. Trevor planning ahead for events in Lonnie's life?
He doesn't.
What has been your experience for him participating in events in Lonnie's life?
As far as,
Well, like gymnastics or swimming lessons or, school. I mean, I guess you already talked about that.
yeah, he doesn't.
Gymnastics, did I taken her too?
All right, that's again not an objection. So if you do have an objection, you would need to state so. But disagreeing with what her statement is not a valid objection.
But with regard to gifts for Lonnie at holidays, does he do that kind of thing?
I believe that for her birthdays, when we would throw a party together, that there would be one gift, as he stated before. He did for, I believe she was 3, and he bought her a big dirt bike.
Is this a motorized dirt bike?
Yes,
Like a little motorcycle for
Yes.
a child?
yes, and that is what he decided to buy her. And I just stated that obviously she doesn't even know how to ride a bike without training wheels yet, so I did not want her on the bike, but that is all he bought her.
Object.
What is your objection, sir?
I don't know, but that's it's a false statement and it's not true.
All right, so again, that's because you
Hey.
disagree with the statement is not an objection. So you got to limit your objection to things that you can object for. Thank you.
Is Mr. Trevor forgetful?
Yes,
When he takes Lonnie, what's your experience with regard to him actually being with her during parenting time?
in my experience and to my knowledge of what he has told me, she spends most of the days at his parents' house. He will usually pick her up in the evening. And they seem to attend church every other Sunday when he has her.
Does he report to you that he works a lot?
Yes,
Have you heard him use the 24/7 phrase?
yes, I remember asking him numerous times to try to make more time for Lonnie, and use his time while he had her, and she would really enjoy that.
And did he, as far as you know, recently become a partner in a restaurant?
Yes,
And has that taken time away from other things for him?
I mean, I would imagine so. He was pretty busy before the restaurant with the excavation business, so I can only imagine that it's probably multiplied by a lot.
And did he leave the area for a number of months to do a training?
To my knowledge, yes.
Was there a time when you asked that his parents supervise his parenting time in order to keep Lonnie safe?
Yes.
And how did that go?
They agreed with me, and said that they would like to do that. They agreed to do all the pickup and drop off with me and meet in Kalkaska, which would be the halfway point. That seemed to be going fairly well. And then he would text me and basically tell me that he was alone with her a couple times, and for a couple every other weekends in a row, I let it slide because it wasn't overnights and it only seemed to be a short period of time. And the last time he had texted me and he said, Lonnie's staying at my house. She wants to go to church with me in the morning. I had said, that is not in the agreement. Your parents told me that that's not going to happen until you get some help and you are safe and healthy to be around Lonnie. He said, well, I think he had basically stated that it wouldn't work if she stayed at his parents' house, which is right down the road, because he wouldn't have enough time to get her ready in the morning to go to church. And I remember vaguely that I had probably said back to him that, she better not come back saying any crazy things again, coming from your house. And anyways, throughout the night, he had texted me again and apparently decided that she was staying, whether I wanted that to happen or not. And it was approximately 9 o'clock in the evening, and he had texted me that he was crying into a pillow as quiet as possibly so Lonnie did not hear him crying, because
What are you crying about?
because I had left 5 years ago.
Oh, okay. So this is him saying that he still loves you or something like that. He still has this interest.
Yes.
Was he a pot grower at one time?
Yes.
And did you smell the marijuana on Lonnie when she came back from his house?
Every time.
Is he still doing it now?
I'm not sure.
Your Honor, if I could just step away for just a moment.
Sure.
Okay. Casey, do you recall Mr. Trevor saying that in terms of disciplining Lonnie, that he doesn't believe timeout actually works?
I don't remember that we really had talked about timeout.
Okay. In terms of your relationship with Lonnie, would you describe it as a loving relationship?
I would,
Is it affectionate?
yes.
And what do you do to sort of guide her in her education?
Well, we do lots of things together. We read every night before bed. If she allots me enough time before the 8 a.m. curfew, or 8 p.m. curfew, I'll read it to her and I'll have her read it back to me. She just completed reading her first 2 books on her own, which was super exciting. My husband does a lot of math with her. They have fun with that. I particularly am not a big fan of math, but I will join in for the amusement of it. We do lots of arts and crafts weekly. She loves to paint. She loves to color and draw. We do a lot of outdoor stuff. The house that we just purchased has a lot of acreage, so we've been into planting things and learning about that. I would say that majority of our time together is learning new things and making it fun.
And as far as religion, do you take her to church services occasionally?
We do.
How often do you go?
I would say at least 2 times a month, maybe if not more, or less.
And it's my understanding that Mr. Trevor also takes her to church. Is that right?
He does.
And I believe his deposition testimony was that he got inspired to take her to church because of your example that you had set for him. Do you recall that?
I believe he was away from church for a long time. And I wanted to start going, and I had asked him to come with me, and yes, he did join me. And he did take a little bit of a break, but I think that he just didn't find the church that he loved yet. And after we had broken up and Lonnie was born, he did indeed find a church that he seemed to like very much.
As far as is caring for the basic needs of Lonnie for food, clothing, shelter, that sort of thing, are you able to do that adequately on your income?
Yes.
And do you and your husband combine your incomes in order to support the household?
Yes.
Do you believe that you have done the necessary medical care in terms of annual visits for Lonnie?
Yes.
Does she have any medical difficulties?
No.
Are you able to adjust your work hours to pick her up when needed and take her to activities?
Yes, I am very lucky to have a flexible schedule. And if she's a kid, so kids get sick. And if I have to call off, I can call off and reschedule my clients. But obviously she is first, and my clients know that.
Do you have a belief that Mr. Trevor has shown a capacity or like a disposition, a willingness to provide her with her physical needs, including child support?
He's never purchased clothing, anything for any necessities that he would need. I would pack her a bag every other weekend when she would go there, and he would load it back up and he would bring it back.
Would you find that Lonnie would come back from visits with him disheveled or with, clean or dirty clothing? What was that like?
Yes, there was a couple times where she would come home, and I recall on 2 occasions I had sent her on a Friday and she came home on a Tuesday, and she was in the exact same underwear that she had left in on Friday. He claimed that he washed them midway through the weekend, but they did not look that way to me. He would send her home and the clothes in her bag would not be washed most of the time. And there would be pee and poop stains all over them. Her hair would be matted. Her teeth would have gone unbrushed. You could see the plaque build up on her teeth. Yeah.
Do you have concerns about Mr. Trevor's moral fitness?
Yes.
And you testified earlier about the domestic violence incident and his use of profanity. Are there other concerns you have about his moral fitness to parent Lonnie?
I think that there is great concern with his view on women. I feel like that is a very important one because she's a little girl right now, but she will grow up to be a young woman one day. And his view on women and the way that he speaks of them, I think it could really hurt Lonnie in the long run. If he were to accidentally slip and say those things to her. I think that the way that he talks to kids in general, the way he talks and has threatened her about hitting her, I don't think that that is appropriate. I think that the way that he is on a day-to-day basis with how he talks, his view of women, of really anybody, and his respect for anybody for that matter, is very concerning, especially for Lonnie to be around. The fact that he is not able to control himself in a manner of not acting out or hurting somebody or screaming at them or calling them names. The fact that he can't control himself to do those things, it is very scary to have Lonnie be alone with him. And you don't know if something is going to set him off. Obviously,
as far as his mental health, does he, I mean, he described himself earlier as, he says he hates himself. Do you have concerns about his mental health?
yes.
You're not a doctor. Are you aware of any diagnosis that he has?
He has expressed to me that maybe he had autism. His father on phone conversation had told me that Joey was basically Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He also claimed that Joey had some autism. And his dad had said multiple personality disorder. But none of these are diagnosed by doctors. I'm also not a doctor, and I can't make those calls or judgments. But when asking Joe, to get help, I think that maybe he took it as I was just trying to be mean, but honestly, I want him to be safe around Lonnie. I want him and Lonnie to have a healthy relationship. And when he is acting in these most outrageous ways, that's not going to be healthy for Lonnie.
When he says, I fucking hate her, and he wishes you would die. Do you have concerns about his overall willingness to sort of encourage a relationship between you and Lonnie?
Yes.
If you were to die, he has a plan in mind, doesn't he? Did you read about that in the deposition?
Yes.
He testified that it would be cool, quote unquote, cool, if you died of natural causes and then he could sleep at night. And what kind of concerns did those comments cause you to have?
I mean, in the deposition is definitely not the first time he has said something like that. He has never said, "I'm going to kill you." While I was pregnant, he would say, "I hope you fall down a flight of stairs." The flight of stairs, he said that one a couple times. "I hope you get taken out on your way to work." He has said in front of Lonnie, he hopes to wake up and see my name in the obituaries. And my concerns for that are, well, that's really scary.
Do you believe in your relationship with him?
Yes.
I assume you didn't report it to the police. Did you tell him at the time that that's what you believed had happened?
I told him the next day.
And then the domestic violence incident in December. Has there been other physical violence other than what's been testified to today? Do you believe there has been emotional violence toward you?
Yes.
Do you believe that you've been psychologically abused by the things he said?
Yes.
Nevertheless, are you willing to try to create a relationship that can work between him and Lonnie?
That would be my hope. Yes.
Do you believe that his parenting time with Lonnie has to be supervised, at least initially?
Yes.
And is it your hope that he could work into more extensive parenting time with Lonnie?
Yes.
Is there something you'd like to see demonstrated by Mr. Trevor before he's just essentially turned loose to be an unsupervised parent with Lonnie?
I mean, the main things that I would like to see is that Lonnie is happy and she is healthy. As a mother, I just want to know that she's okay and that she is not going to be affected by his outrageous ways and how he acts. So if he could work on himself to not make this Lonnie's view and Lonnie's story, that would be terrific.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Trevor, do you have any questions for Ms. Atchison?
Yeah, I guess I do have a few. Did we or did we not have phone conversations before or after bath and book reading time when you were living in your apartment?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Did we or did we not have phone conversations with Lonnie before and after bath and book time before bed?
I do not recall that, no.
Do you remember any of the things that Lonnie and I had made for you for Mother's Day or birthdays?
Yes, I do.
Did me and Lonnie make multiple paintings and do arts and crafts?
I wouldn't say that you did multiple, but I believe, yes, you guys did make a couple crafts and she brought them home.
Did we go to the pool and church every other that we had her?
Yeah, you did not go to the pool every time to my knowledge, but yes, you did go to church every Sunday with her that you had her.
Did I not the majority of the time wash, fold, and repack her clothes to the pictures that you used to send me, other than maybe missing a pair of sweatpants or pair of socks or
You
jacket,
never-
the jacket?
I do not remember you ever washing her clothes.
Okay. Do you ever remember having an argument about the chair my family had purchased Lonnie for her first birthday that had to stay with you because it was a gift for Lonnie and there had become a big issue over what was purchased for her?
I do remember the chair, and I do remember that your mom was upset that the chair was going to come to our house.
Do you remember making the statement saying that the clothes that were given to Lonnie were to go with her to Traverse City and that we were not to split them up between us? That the clothes that were there for her from the birthdays was her clothes, and was to purchase her own clothes for my house?
I do not recall that, no.
Okay. All right. I guess that's about it. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Any redirect, Mr. Saffel?
No, Your Honor.
And any additional witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. So, Mr. Trevor, you do have the opportunity for some rebuttal testimony. I will give you that opportunity. So if based on the testimony of Ms. Atchison that was presented, if you have any rebuttal testimony, this would be the time that you could provide it. Remember that you do remain under oath. Do you have any additional testimony you want to make, sir?
Yeah, a few of the things, like or with Casey, I know this is minute, but when she her apartment did supply her with an air conditioning, no air conditioning in that
Your Honor,
apartment.
the audio broke up there, and I didn't hear it.
Okay. Can you repeat that, Mr. Trevor?
Yeah. In regards to, I guess, like monetary items, when Casey did move into her apartment in Traverse City, buy her with a portable air conditioning unit for the apartment because I thought that it was too warm for my daughter. And I had also installed and purchased a ceiling fan light combination, and did that as well for them. So that's one thing. I guess I don't have anything else. I can't think of anything. I just wanted to get this over with.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Saffel, did you have any additional questions?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, what I'm going to do then, now that all the testimony and exhibits are in, I'm going to take a break, probably 5 to 10 minutes, review the testimony and my notes, and I will be back on the record in about 5 minutes to put a decision on the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Can't hear anything.
I couldn't read that.
Okay, court is back on the record in the Atchison versus Trevor matter. One thing I realized is I did not give the parties a final chance to make a closing argument or indicate in particular what type of arrangement they're seeking, if any. So, Mr. Trevor, as the moving party, I will start with you first. Is there any closing statement you want to make that would indicate exactly what it is you're asking this court to change or do?
I'm just trying to get back to the parenting time that I had with Lonnie before we had a big disagreement, and I try to be the best at it I can. I know that some situations may not sound like it. I know some things are taken out of context, and there's been a few things really defend myself on. But I just put this in your and God's hands, and just pray that I get to spend quality time with my daughter again. It's been over a year basically since I really had to have her, for
Thank you.
3 to 5 days a week, because we did work it up to almost the 5 days. And but yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Saffel, any closing argument you want to make?
Just briefly, Your Honor, there was never parenting time that was 5 days. There was a period of time where there were 4 overnights every other week. But I think the evidence in this case is abundant, Your Honor, that that there's one grown-up in the room, so to speak, and that is Casey. She's the one that's done everything for this child. She's the planner. She's the responsible one. And Mr. Trevor has got serious deficits. It doesn't mean he doesn't love his child. He does. It doesn't mean he can't be an adequate father. He might be able to be that person, but it's going to take a lot of work. And his deposition testimony and his testimony today makes it so clear that he has virtually no barometer about what he says and does. He realizes that. Around this child in public settings, he's shown himself to be, to be violent, to be crude, and really makes it very difficult, in my view, to see the child having any real safety around him with this kind of conduct and behavior. It's about the most outrageous behavior, at least admitted behavior through his deposition testimony that I've ever seen. He just simply can't control his temper, his use of his language, and he has an awfully difficult time looking out for the best interests of this child. And for that reason, for those reasons, really, we'd ask the court to fashion a parenting time remedy that gets him the help that he needs and allows him to work into a normal, more full parenting relationship, provided he can demonstrate that he doesn't present a risk to the child. We can avoid the kind of interactions between him and my client by fashioning third-party exchanges. But he gropes her virtually every time they're together. It's just an outrageous set of circumstances that no person should have to tolerate. But again, we can avoid the contact between the two of them. I suppose joint custody is really, this doesn't sound like a joint custody case. It is not, but they could use the family wizard to communicate. And the court, I'm sure, is very well familiar with things that can be done to sort of lessen the contact and the need to coordinate between the two of them. But ultimately, he has to get better before he can be an adequate parent and have unsupervised parenting time. Child support also is something that probably needs to be reviewed. It never has been. And so we would ask that that be done. His income, that's going to be a tough issue. He goes in his deposition from basically claiming to be a wealthy guy that is making all this money to someone who has no money at all. So we'd ask that they communicate using our family wizard, that a third party facilitate exchanges, that he not have overnight parenting time at this point, and that whatever other measures this court feels are appropriate under these circumstances, we very much appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so in this matter, we're here today based on defendant's motion regarding parenting time, indicating he wants to set a specific schedule. The first order in this case, which has not been amended as of yet, was from 2018 that granted parenting time as the parties agree. First thing the court has to do is look to see if there is proper cause or a change of circumstances that warrants revisiting the custody arrangement. I think in this matter, there is proper cause and a change of circumstances. Certainly, the parenting time has not been happening since December. The reason it's not happening is a domestic violence incident between the parties, with Mr. Trevor being convicted for that. That happened in front of the child also. There was plenty of testimony, I think, that rises to the level of proper cause or change of circumstances in this matter. The court then looks to what is the established custodial environment. Clearly, the minor child has been primarily with mom and receives that support and guidance from mom. So it is my ruling that there is an established custodial environment only with the mom. Dad is not seeking to change the established custodial environment, however, just seeking to have some type of specific parenting time. I will review each of the best interest factors in this matter when deciding what changes, if any, should be made. I'll go through the factors individually right now. First factor is the love, affection, and emotional ties that exist between the parties involved and the child. Now, this factor doesn't look at the history, it looks at what exists currently as far as the love, affection, and emotional tie between the parties involved and the child. The testimony in this case is dad has not had parenting time since December of 2022, and in 2022 did not have regular parenting time either. Dad has been separated from the child now for almost 8 months or around 8 months. And again, as indicated, there was some lesser contact throughout the last part of 2022 also. At this point, it's hard to see what the existing tie is between dad and the child. Certainly there was an existing tie when they were having their parenting time together, but that has been severed at this point. So I would find this factor favors the mother. She did testify regarding her relationship with the minor child, which is ongoing, as she has been the sole parent since December 2022. So the first factor favors the mother. The next factor is the capacity and disposition of the parties involved to give the child love, affection, and guidance, and to continue the education and raising of the child in his or her religion or creed. Dad didn't provide a whole lot of testimony regarding his relationship with the child. He testified as to what he wanted as far as parenting time, testified regarding some of his concerns with the system, some of his concerns with Miss Atchison. He did talk about taking her to church, however, as well as a tornado cleanup. Mom testified regarding how she provides for the minor child in this area. And this focuses on the capacity and the disposition. So the ability as well as the parent actually providing it. I think when you look at the testimony in this matter, this factor does favor the mother, given her stronger capacity, disposition to provide the minor child with these things. Dad, as I indicated, is commended for his continued involvement of the child in the raising and religion, as well as involving her in the tornado cleanup, as well as other lessons that he teaches her. But when the two testimonies weighed side by side, I believe this factor favors the mother. Next factor is the capacity and disposition of the parties involved to provide the child with food, clothing, and medical care. Mom testified that she does provide all those needs to the child, that she has been the sole one to address the medical needs of the child. Her testimony was that she would also send clothing when the child would go to dad's for parenting time. Dad's testimony was that child support is the least important bill and obligation when paying for his bills. So while he does have the capacity, I don't find that testimony supports that he has the disposition, given where he puts the priority of paying support. He does have a history of frequently needing show causes and bench warrants, so that his actions are true to his words regarding the priority of support. So I would find this factor favors the mother. The next factor is the length of time the child has lived in a stable, satisfactory environment and the desirability of maintaining continuity. Mom has testified regarding her living situation. She is remarried, has a family unit at the house. Dad did not provide testimony as to what his living situation is, where he lives, who he lives with, what the arrangement is like. And additionally, the child has not been there in quite some time anyways. Therefore, as to this factor, it favors the mother. The next factor is the permanence as a family unit of the existing or proposed custodial home or homes. Mom testified she intends to remain at her current residence as a family unit. Dad did not provide any testimony as to what his future plans are regarding the custodial home. Therefore, this factor favors the mother. The next factor is the moral fitness of the parties involved. Mom has raised concerns regarding Dad's moral fitness. To Dad's credit, he is honest about issues with getting upset and then acting inappropriately, saying inappropriate things. Clearly, his actions and his words run into difficulty when he is upset, and he's acknowledged that he has trouble controlling that. He's had some of these outbursts in front of the child. And look at his actions and his testimony. I do believe that this factor favors the mother. The next factor is the mental and physical health of the parties involved. There was really no medical testimony regarding any diagnosis for either party in mental health. Neither party appears to have any sort of physical barrier to their ability to parent. There's certainly some questions regarding, is there something going on that causes Dad to behave the way he does? It's probably certainly an issue that should be addressed and resolved. But based on this evidence, I don't believe there is evidence to show any concrete mental health or physical health issues that impair the parent's ability to parent. So I'm going to find that this factor is equal. Next factor is the home, school, and community record of the child. Mom testified regarding the child's schooling as well as extracurricular activities. Testimony is that Dad has not been active in the schooling, is not apparently willing to be active given the school location and concerns with what he perceives to be the school's liberal agenda. So given Dad's lack of involvement in the child's schooling and extracurricular activities and Mom's actual involvement in those activities, this factor favors the mother. The next factor is the reasonable preference of the child. If the child is of sufficient age to express a preference, the child in this matter is only 5 years old and is not of sufficient age to express a preference. The next factor is the willingness and ability of each of the parties to facilitate and encourage a close and continuing parent-child relationship between the child and the other parent. We've heard the testimony of the things that Dad has said to Mom, about Mom, some of those in front of the child, things about Mom, wishing Mom was dead, as well as just his general treatment of Mom in front of the child. Based on the testimony, I do believe this factor favors the mother, as Dad does not seem to encourage that continuing relationship given his statements and comments. The next factor is domestic violence. Dad has a conviction just back in December of 2022. And even more severe than that is the fact that that happened right in front of the child. This factor clearly favors the mother. Dad is showing by that incident, especially his behavior, not just to mom, but to the waitress. He's talked about his feeling about females in general, saying that today's generation is dumb whores. He consistently uses derogatory language towards mom and towards women. Parties currently have joint legal custody, but when analyzing the best interest factors and the relationship of these parties, I'm going to recommend that mom be awarded sole legal custody. It is not reasonable to expect her to work together with Mr. Trevor to make those important medical and schooling decisions, given his treatment of her and their history together. He, even beyond that, again, the domestic violence situation, he also acknowledges inappropriate touching and sexual behavior and comments. And it just would not be appropriate to require mom to have to seek his co-input on those decisions, given his behavior, as well as what's really been his lack of involvement with the minor child. So I am recommending that legal custody be changed to sole legal with mom. Recommend that mom continue to have the primary physical custody. And as for parenting time, it is my recommendation that parenting time be supervised. And I'm recommending supervision at Safe Haven. I'm recommending 2 visits per month at Safe Haven in the duration of at least 1 hour up to 3 hours, depending on what Safe Haven can accommodate with their schedule as well as the party's schedule. The parents are to contact Safe Haven and perform the intake. Safe Haven then works to schedule times that work for both parties. This also allows no contact between the parties to set those visits up and make those exchanges. But both parties do need to contact Safe Haven then to perform that intake so they can work on starting those visits. There still is a PPO in place, so there is no contact at this time between the parties. But it is my recommendation that once the parties are allowed to have contact, that their contact be solely through our family wizard. I'm also going to recommend that a new child support recommendation be prepared. The parties must submit their financial information to the front of the court within 21 days. And also that the child support would indicate 0 overnights for dad. I'm not going to order any sort of specific wean off of supervised visits plan. I think the burden is going to be on dad to exercise his visits, show that he can exercise his visits appropriately, and show that he is making necessary changes to move away from supervised visits and into a different level of parenting time. I think clearly there is a roadmap of how that can be done. I'm not going to order counseling for dad, but that certainly is going to be something that if a change in parenting time is requested, the court would take a good long consideration of whether or not that has happened, as well as a report that his probation is completed successfully, that he was an active participant in his men's group. So there are certainly ways to make changes down the road, but at this time, given the evidence before the court, I don't believe anything else is appropriate other than the visits at Safe Haven at this time. Mr. Saffel, do you have any question regarding the court's recommendation?
No, Your Honor. No.
Thank you. Mr. Trevor, do you have any questions?
Yeah, is this appealable?
Yes, sir. So both parties have the right to object to this recommendation. You have 21 days to object. You will be given all of the information in the packet that is sent to you from the front of the court that'll tell you how to file an objection to this decision.
Okay.
All right, thank you. If there's nothing additional, then the court will go off the record. Thank you to everyone for appearing today.
Thank you, Your Honor.